Hello? Hello? Who's there? Whoa! Water!
Sup, everyone. Welcome to another night of Ghost Chat Radio. This is the show that makes you wonder, did he really say that? And the answer is simple. Yes, I fucking did. I am the host of Paranormal Rebel. Everyone knows my beautiful and talented and very intelligent, smart co-host, the Paranormal Diva, Jodie Haunt, or Jodie Smith, whatever you want to consider her. But we're going to have a great show for you. We have a Rocky Stucco.
Stucci.
That's it. And you messaged that to me earlier, and I got all fucked up in the head. I don't know. But he's a cool dude. I know these guys will love him. Very smart, intelligent guy. So I know we'll get some very unique information out of him. But we do have some interesting paranormal news going on this week. Besides the death of Robin Williams, which is kind of sad and depressing. He was a funny dude. But, yeah, he did commit suicide. It is what it is. I can't stop that, but... We do have some paranormal news, and the first one that I'd like to touch base on is alien smog. Now, these news reports that we dug up this for tonight are actually from well-respected websites, not just, weird news or, the Huffington Post or whatever the case is. These are from well-respected websites for tonight. So let's get into the alien smog. How pollution could help locate ET. Do you have that one open, Jodie?
I do. You want me to cover it?
Yeah, let's cover it. You like aliens. Why not?
All right. I do. I love the aliens. So, like Jason said, this is from the Live Science News Network. So it's a very reputable contributor. And this article is actually from, recently, right at the end of July. And it just says, in the search for life beyond Earth, the astronomers should look for signs of pollution in the atmosphere of alien planets outside of the Earth's solar system. The next generation James Webb Space Telescope, which is actually set to launch in the year 2018, could actually hunt for worlds harboring alien life by sniffing their atmospheres for chlorofluorocarbons, which are also known as CFCs, for those of you that don't know. These are greenhouse gases, and they destroy the ozone in the Earth's atmosphere. And, we've been talking about this for years, how greenhouse gases and fluorocarbons and, anything that's aerosol, how all of these things, for like the past 15 or 20 years, this has been a huge focus, how we're destroying our own atmosphere. So these chemicals could be detected on planets with atmospheres that are 10 times thicker than Earth's. And this is what the research is showing. So the scientists are already scanning the atmospheres of alien worlds. Okay, now these are alien worlds, that they think they know of, for traces of oxygen and methane gases that typically coexist in the presence of life. So it stands to reason, we can't be the only ones out here. There has to be some other life forms out there. I've always thought so. It's my opinion, but I've really always felt that and always thought that. So they're searching for signs of pollution elsewhere in the universe to help yield clues about more advanced alien civilizations. That's huge. What do you guys think about this?
I do agree that there probably is something else out there. To sit down and say that in that vast, endless amount of space that we are the only planet in existence to have the capabilities of hovering some kind of atmosphere. I mean, that's plain asinine. I mean, there's got to be something else out there. There has to be somewhere. I mean, there's millions of stars and millions of other galaxies and so forth and so on. So, I mean, I think they're on the right track as far as doing that, looking for something that could sustain an atmosphere. I think that's the right track of trying to find other life forms that are out there.
What do you think, Rocky?
I agree with Jason. It would be absolutely impossible to discount the reality of other life forms in multiple universes. Even the world of spirit. I mean, who knows how much intelligent energy is just all over our universe that we just can't see or hear or communicate with.
Of course.
I mean, how can we be the luckiest planet in the entire universe to where it has life on our planet, but there is no other planet out there lucky enough to have other kinds of forms of life? I'll tell you a quick story, though. I went to the Burlington Vortex in Wisconsin, and it's really well known for UFO sightings, and they really freaked me out because they started talking about Bigfoot, because people at the Burlington Vortex believe that UFOs and aliens have something somehow related to do with Bigfoot.
Really?
And yeah, they completely believe that. They believe he's an alien being, and it is a fascinating area too. I mean, they're finding giant skeletons there, and they're finding ancient mounds there, and they just found a small pyramid at the bottom of the lake. So there's some really weird stuff happening there.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, but they freaked me out so bad though, because we were leaving the woods at like 2 a.m, and I was the last person in line. And I've never been big into Bigfoot. I'm not saying I believe or don't believe. I've just never been big into it. But they had me so brainwashed that night that I kept thinking that some big 7-foot, 8-foot hairy dude was going to come out of the woods and just grab me and take me away.
I love it. I would be too. I've heard that that's a pretty incredible place to go and visit, and I would love to go there. I would be fascinated to go there, and I'm with you on that. I'm not saying I don't believe in Bigfoot, and I've got a lot of friends that are so into Bigfoot, and I've been invited, to go on some Bigfoot hunts over the years. I've never seen anything, but it is fun to go, I have to say. But I just don't know. I don't know. There has to be something that people are seeing.
Yeah, I agree. Whether or not it came to this planet, I have no idea. But as far as life forms outside of our own existence, I think it's quite possible, and I think that it's pretty natural for the scientists to want to try to figure it out and see what they can find, because, well, let's just face it, as human beings, we're curious motherfuckers. So I mean, it's pretty natural to go ahead and try to, but I truly do believe that there very much could be something else out there beyond our existence. We just can't see. I mean, the Hubble telescope, if I'm not mistaken, is just barely piercing our own galaxy. And, sure, that's pretty big, but, space is endless as far as we know. So, I mean, there's got to be the chances of something else out there. Has to be.
Absolutely.
I think you're on the right track with trying to locate other life forms. And that's cool. It's cool to sit down and see science taking that initiative.
Were they talking about, where are these scientists from? Are they from the United States, or are they from somewhere else? Where are they from?
It doesn't say. I believe they are from the United States, though.
Are they?
I believe so. I just posted all the news articles that we are mentioning tonight. I am posting right on the fan page, the website, so people can go ahead and check it out for themselves. So if you're interested in learning more about this, just go to the Ghost Chat Radio fan page on Facebook, and I am posting all of these news articles right up on there so that you can go ahead and look for yourself, and maybe learn some more about it, or give you a hint on where they can lead you into other information that might be useful towards your particular research.
Right, that's a great idea.
It is. I thought so. I got them every once in a while. But let's go on to this next one. Neuroscientists hack dream with tiny shock. Again, this is a well-respected website. So this is actually kind of interesting. It's not really too weird, I can say, but it is interesting. Yeah. Let me find the beginning of this one. Here it is. All right. Oh, to be a lucid dreamer, it says, to be fast asleep at 3:30 a.m. and then realize I'm in a dream. I can walk up these stairs, jump off the porch, and start flying. Why not? It's a dream. Lucid dreams have been lit up the big screen in movies such as Pan's Labyrinth and Inception, but the ability to control dreams, the hallmark of lucid dreams, is quite rare in real life. Now, German neurologists have taken a step towards giving this elusive power to some run-of-the-mill dreamers. Small electrical impulses during sleep make some people feel as though they can manipulate their dream. A team from Goethe University, Frankfurt, and the University of Göttingen reported Sunday. The short shocks, which are barely perceptible, also make some sleepers more aware they're dreaming and feel more like they're watching their dreams as outsiders. The scientists wrote in the journal Nature of Neuroscience. Let me see here. People normally take their dreams as reality while they're sleeping, says neurologist Michael Nish at Goethe University, Frankfurt, who contributed to the study. Lucid dreamers view their dreams like a movie. You know it's a dream, and you can change it in certain instances. You put the dream in a dimension other than reality. Nish and his team's technique is still far from giving people inceptions like powers to climb walls, woo beautiful suitors, or fight armies, but he hopes a similar method may one day help treat mental disorders, such as schizophrenia and post-traumatic stress disorder. Dreams can be really terrorizing for patients with PTSD. This tells shops if it would be possible to induce lucid dreaming with these patients, maybe it would reduce their suffering. Previous studies have found that lucid dreams occur during REM sleeping, the time of the night when dreams are most memorable. And that's all I'm going to read because this article is pretty damn big. But that's pretty interesting because it does correlate with some paranormal phenomena, actually. The ability to manipulate human energy by using electrical impulses to control something, well, let's just face it, is paranormal. I mean, your dreams are paranormal no matter which way you cut it. It is pretty impressive.
I mean, there's a lot of people who will say they never have lucid dreams. I remember a lot of my dreams. I actually keep a dream diary next to my bed so that when when you wake up during the night and you're having a crazy dream and then, the next day sometimes you don't remember it, a couple of hours later. So I always like to stop and write it down when I have something particularly weird going on, in my dreams. But so many people say they never remember their dreams or they never think that they have lucid dreaming. But, I think everybody does have it, once they hit REM sleep. They just don't remember,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. But this article is more about, being able to control that. They're saying that, you don't have no control over what you're dreaming and how you're dreaming. It just happens.
And wouldn't that be incredible? That would be so incredible. Yeah.
That would be fantastic. And again, I think that correlates with paranormal research as well. I really do. What do you think, Rob?
I know that it's not so much the dream state, but there's a lady, she went to university, and she said that she would have out-of-body experiences all the time, that she could astral project. And she was very good at it. She would be able to talk about locations that she would have no clue what they were, what they looked like. So this university actually did a brain scan on her while she was having her out-of-body experience. And the results were actually phenomenal. And last March I posted something on my blog about that story, and it was really interesting to read. And I like the fact that Western doctors, they don't put a lot of credibility into this. It's a lot of these doctors in different countries that are the ones that are actually doing a lot of this research. And
it's so
this was actually done. It's unfortunate because there's so many researchers here that get paid to research specific things, and they're not allowed to explore their, everything that they want to research. But what they got back was phenomenal, and it was really interesting. And there's another doctor, too, regarding out-of-body experiences, because a lot of doctors say that, when we die, our brains actually stay active for 4 minutes, 5 minutes after death. We were going through hallucinations while we're dying, hence the fact that we see the white light, so on and so forth. This one doctor, a neuroscientist, he obtained a brain disease, and he was dying from this brain disease. His brain was completely dead in all the areas where we dream at, and where we think, and where we hallucinate. All those areas of his brain were infected. They were non-functioning, and yet he had an experience of life after death. And he was so fascinated by this experience because it was his own theory that said it was not possible. But then he's the one who, it was almost like it was a sign. It was almost like it was meant to happen to him to show him that it is possible, to show that the brain can be completely dead, but yet we still have intelligent conscience after we leave our body.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a pretty interesting, research that these scientists are going with dealing with specific parts of the brain and how they're actually firing to make, yourself hallucinate or dream and so forth and so on. And again, it does correlate with paranormal research.
It's nice to hear that it's being done. It really is.
Yeah, it does. It does. I mean, yeah, they're looking at it from a more science approach, more of the living rather than the dead, but I think it's connected, personally.
Oh, absolutely. I absolutely think it connects, and I do think this would be really incredible for people who have like a horrible reoccurring bad dream that they feel like they just can't get out of, and it's been going on for 10 years, or people with PTSD that have been in the military who can't, who sort of dream about it over and over and over. For them to be able to start to be able to manipulate their dreams, I mean, it would be so incredible for those people. I can't imagine the peace that they would get and the better sleep that they would be able to get, if this is really going to work, and if this could actually become mainstream at some point. It would be an incredible treatment for people with, mind difficulties.
Absolutely.
Tell me what you guys think of this. I was diagnosed with PTSD. I was never in the service, but I was diagnosed with it.
Mm-hmm.
And they put me in, and this treatment is called EDMR. EDMR. Okay. And what you do is you have these little probes, these little tiny rubber pieces that you hold in each one of your hands, and you squeeze it. And you look forward, and there's this set of lights, and these lights go back and forth really quick, and all you do is you stay focused. Something with the vibration that's happening in your hands while you're watching this light, it pulls up repressed memories. It pulls up things that you haven't thought of since you were probably 7, 8, 9, 10 years old. And I don't know how different this is compared to this study, because it sounds like they're digging deeper in the brain than our conscious mind is able to do. But it was really freaky at first when I went through this, because I didn't really understand what was happening to me. And what it was doing, it was making both sides of your brains work together at the same time to eliminate not just the surface issues, but the deep, go deep to the core issues. And it was pretty intense.
I think it's similar research, considering that you're saying it's bringing up memories that you haven't thought about or you've forgotten or repressed. And much like anybody's office, I mean, your brain is pretty much called the same thing. And when you repress a memory, you're just, throwing that memory in a folder somewhere and stacking it up on the shelf and never seeing it again until you want to look for it and you can't find it. You know what I mean? It's there. It's just you don't know what the hell it is. So, I mean, I think it does correlate in the same thing. I think it's jumpstarting your brain to try to, start making sense out of what the hell's in there.
That's so interesting, Rocky, because that's a lot like I'm certified as a hypnotherapist, and it's very interesting because that's a lot like what we do with people who have blocked memories through hypnotherapy, is get them to focus on one thing and try to, dig back deeper and deeper for these things that they just can't remember that happened maybe even when they were children. So I think that's so interesting that they were doing that for your PTSD. And did it help a lot? Did that help you?
Yeah, it was making you identify memories that you avoided for so long, and that's exactly what it was doing. It was making them come to surface, no matter how hard it was to deal with it. Jason, like you said, if you put it on a bookshelf, and as there's core issues and there's surface issues. From one core issue stems 10 surface issues, and before you know it, people become so lost and they start questioning, well, who am I? I don't even know who I am anymore. And that's a big part with what you do, Jodie, and with this PTSD program with the EDMR. is they're going beyond those surface issues, and they're putting you in a corner almost and making you confront these issues. And I tell you, it was heaven sent, because there was things that, nightmares and the dreams and the not being able to sleep and the anxieties and the piles and piles and piles of medications, and I was a walking zombie. And this was actually what helped. So if they can figure out a way to get deep into somebody's subconscious mind and to pull these memories out, I mean, that's where the healing truly starts. And I tell you, life becomes fascinating once you can eliminate those demons.
Oh, absolutely. And then I've also done over the years, there's a site you can look at, Centerpoint Research. Have you ever heard of them, Rocky?
I have not.
I've heard of them. I don't know much about them.
Have you? I am really into them. I started with some meditation from that site about 6 years ago, maybe almost 7 years ago now. And through the meditation that you can get there, and you can even get a free, I can post a link, you can get a free demo CD if you want to see how you feel about it. But when you listen to it, you start with just 20 minutes a day, it actually causes your brain to forge new neurological connections between the left and the right side of your brain. And let me tell you, after you've been doing it for about a week, like, your head starts to hurt. You can really feel that something is happening. And, this meditation takes you, all the way down. I mean, you're meditating like a monk by the time you go through this for a couple of weeks. It just is life-changing how that works. So I think that's so interesting what they were doing with you. I'm going to have to study up on that.
Yeah, check it out. It's especially if that's your field of study, definitely. I can't really explain what it does to the brain. If you research it, you'll probably understand it a lot more than me. I was the patient at the time, and honestly, I'm going to be totally honest with you guys. I actually had to see a priest when this started happening, because there was just so many things that was pouring out of me, and I didn't know who else to turn to. Yeah, it's deep, and we see people every day that they're living their life with these buried emotions, and we deserve better than that. We really do. We deserve better than that.
That's so true.
Why don't we go on to the next story?
Are we going to do the Bible story?
Well, let's do the Bible story. This is an interesting one. This one here, the reason why I like this one is because if it got out to the general public, not too much the paranormal enthusiasts, but the general public, this is the one story that will throw chaos amongst religion. Well, it's really interesting as we go through this because, as you know, I'm not super religious, but I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and this is so anti what we would ever think, growing up that way. But I've heard for many, many years that there were lots of lost scriptures that they're hiding even at the Vatican, that they just don't want people to know about or people to read, So what this article says, 1,500-year-old Bible confirms that Jesus Christ was not crucified, Vatican in awe. And I have always, we'll talk about it later. I don't want to get all controversial, but I've always had my own opinions about this. But I've always had a different opinion on that. But much to the dismay of the Vatican, an approximately 1,500 to 2,000-year-old Bible was found in Turkey in the Ethnography Museum of Ankara. Say that 5 times fast. So this book was discovered and kept secret in the year 2000, and it contains a lost gospel, which is the Gospel of Barnabas, who was one disciple of Jesus Christ. It shows that Jesus was not crucified, nor was he the Son of God, but he was a prophet, which I've always said he was a prophet. The book also calls the Apostle Paul the imposter, in quotes. The book also claims that Jesus ascended to heaven alive and that Judas Iscariot was crucified in his place. That's fascinating. So it really is. So a report by the National Turk says that his Bible was seized, actually, from a gang of smugglers in a Mediterranean area operation. The report also states that the gang was charged with smuggling other antiquities, illegal excavations, and the possession of explosives.
is valued as high as 40 million Turkish liras, which is, to us, about $28 million. So, man, where's the thieves' guild when you need them, it says. Now, about the authenticity, according to reports, the experts and religious authorities in Tehran insist that the book is original. And there is a picture of the book, and I know that Jason will post this link, and boy, it looks original. The book itself is written in gold lettering, and it's a loosely tied letter in Aramaic, which was, of course, as we know, the language of Jesus Christ.
And it gets even better. I mean, if people know Aramaic before we continue on with it, there's only a handful of people today that know how to speak Aramaic. It's a lost art. The language has not been spoken since about 900 A.D. Yeah, A.D.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So, I mean, this is something that is definitely around that era, considering it was written in that language.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, the text maintains a similar vision to Islam, contradicting the New Testament's teachings of Christianity. So, I mean, wow, how controversial is that? Jesus also foresees the coming of the prophet Muhammad, who would found Islam. As we know, Muhammad founded Islam about 700 years later. It is believed that during the Council of Nicaea, the Catholic Church, and see, this is what I know and what I've always believed, that they handpicked the Gospels that form the Bible as we know it today.
Well, and the Catholic Church admits that. The Vatican will actually admit that. They've told people that, yes, they do have these other books that are sitting in the back of the Vatican Church, or whatever the hell you want to consider it, that they will not put in. They say it's irrelevant to the story. That's what they say. Because
they want to interpret it their own way. And
exactly.
I mean, if you leave something out, to me, it's completely relevant. I mean, come on. So they omitted the Gospel of Barnabas. They just weren't in possession of it. So among many others, as we know, like what Jason was saying, there's other scripture that they're hiding at the Vatican that have never been released. And I know that some of it is because they don't really want you to know the things that it says there, because it contradicts the teachings that, I was taught and brainwashed to learn, as one person, as a child. So they favored the four, how do we say this, canonical Gospels of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, which we know are, the Gospels that everyone knows. Many biblical texts have become the surface over time, including those of the Dead Sea, Dead Sea Scrolls, and the Gnostic Gospels. But this book especially seems to worry the Vatican a lot. So
they definitely have your attention on it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, anything that's going to be contradictory is going to get the attention right away. And, so the Catholic Church wants in, So, I mean, what does this mean to the Christian-derived religions and their followers?
I think if the truth of this book actually gets out, and I don't want to say this because it's kind of rough, but if the truth actually gets out of this book, and you're gonna want to see an uprising amongst the people against the Vatican and other sorts of big religious figures. I don't want to see that. Believe me, I prefer to keep it peaceful. Let's just face it. I mean, everything that you were taught, everything that you believed in, is now upside down.
Right. I mean, absolutely.
I mean, there's wars going on right now because of religion, because that land was holy and that land was not holy, and that land's holy and that one's not. People are fucking killing each other over that. No less a book that's saying everything we taught you is fucking bullshit. You know what I mean? This could start a serious uprising.
Right. And I mean, I started, hearing about lost gospels. I never heard about that as a kid growing up, but maybe 12 years ago I started to hear about things like that. And so I've always, paid attention anytime I read anything like that because, I want to know. I would love to know what they say. But, of course, the Vatican has asked the Turkish authorities to let them examine the contents of the book within the church. And if they take it to the Vatican, you'll never see it again. But now that the book has been found, will they come to accept it and its evidence? Will they deny it altogether? Are they going to call it a Muslim lie? As did the Truth magazine in 2000. To many, I mean, this book is a beacon of hope. Believers soon realize that the object of their adoration is arbitrary and, you know, that all text, especially religious text, is subject to interpretation. And, I mean, I think we should all know that.
Well, it is open to interpretation.
Yeah.
I mean, people have to understand one thing, and this is fact. I'm sorry to say this is 100% fact. Man wrote the Bible. Jesus Christ did not write one fucking word in the Bible, neither did God. Man wrote the Bible. And the one thing that we know about man is we're a bunch of fucking assholes. We are. I'm sorry. We don't know that from a hole in the ground. It's true. We lie. We like to screw people over, and we like to mess with people in hopes that they fuck up somehow. That's guys. That's what we do. History has proved that. It has.
It's true. It's so true. I mean, and many of the stories were written in sort of, you know, a fictional way. I mean, they're very anecdotal anyway, you know, in the scripture that we do see. So, I mean, clearly, you know, each of the different churches does interpret it their own way, as does, you know, the Jewish religions. You know, that's why people break off from the church. They break off from one church and create another one and sort of rewrite the scripture how they want to believe it at their church. And, you know, I think a lot of things were lost from the original translation, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, you know,
I'm just throwing this out there, but maybe, just maybe, this whole story is, well, I mean, it's probably some truth behind it. Don't get me wrong. They might have found this book, so forth and so on, or had this book. But maybe the government threw this out there, the Turkish government threw that report out there to try to start some kind of uproar. Maybe there's a conspiracy behind it on that aspect.
I mean, there could be, and even if there's not, the Catholic Church will probably try to say that because, you know, we do that. But, you know, what does this mean to, you know, atheists and agnostics and secular thinkers? You know, is it real? Is it fake? Does it matter? And, you know, hopefully this news story will inspire very religious people to ask questions instead of just pointing fingers or believe. You know, many people just blindly believe what they're told. I mean,
exactly.
they do.
After they've been screwed over by men, after they've read the history books that men are nothing but assholes, and I'm willingly admitting that men are nothing but assholes, they will take that lesson from a man. They will say, okay, man knows all. It's funny.
Yeah, you don't want to take me there to that men are assholes thing. Don't get me started. Don't get me started down that road.
What do you think, Rocky?
Rocky, yeah.
You know, okay, a couple things I just want to say. You know, when it comes to biblical references, when it comes to different religions, since the beginning, since the time of Moses in the Old Testament, it has always been used for power, for control of the people, for fear. We're not supposed to fear our God. We're supposed to love our God. But today, and for thousands of years, people have been taught to fear God. And some of the most religious people I know have the most hate in their blood. And I think that's the opposite of what the true message of the higher power really is. Moses, he was an Egyptian pharaoh. He was an Egyptian pharaoh until he was 40 years old. He killed somebody. He disappears for 40 years, and he comes back when he's 80 years old. And, you know, the staff that he used, he had a serpent on it. Moses knew exactly how to control the masses, and that's exactly what he did. Now, this is an interesting fact. There was, before Jesus, there were 12 other people that were prophets that were born of a virgin mother, that created miracles, that died on a cross, and that rose the third day after their death. There was 12 other people before Jesus that lived the identical, exact same life as Jesus with the exact same story. 12 people. It dates all the way back to 3500 BC.
And where is the writing about that? I mean, there's no mention of that with any of the Christian religions. You know,
right? Even in the Book of Enoch, there's so many people. I grew up Catholic, and there's so many people. Your modern day Catholic, your modern day Christian, they don't even touch the Book of Enoch or the Book of David. There's so many books out there that are inspiring, and just because some of them get creepy, that doesn't mean it wasn't real. Because much as we think we're a cruel person or a cruel society now, it was probably more cruel back in their day. I mean, you remember one of those, he was a gladiator. He started the army from Rome, and he went against Rome, and they called him down at the tip of the boot in Calabria. They sat there with every one of his soldiers. They made a cross, and they crucified a guy on a cross, and they put the cross up every 20 feet all the way to the city of Rome. I mean, that's not cruel. I don't know what is, you know. So ever since there's been gods, and the Prophet Muhammad, you know, he was a regular man. He has a seizure one day, disappears in a cave, and he comes back and he talks to God. Moses said the same thing. Moses said that he was the only person that could look God in the eye, and nobody else would, and if you look God in the eye, they would die. So it's always been about fear and control of the masses. That's all it's always been.
Oh, I agree. Absolutely. And, you know, don't take me to the way that they wrote about women back then and all of those.
Right.
Oh,
and don't you find it funny how
women were literally written in the worst possible ways you could ever imagine in the Bible.
We were dogs. We were dogs in the Bible.
If there was any family out there that truly follows the book of the Lord, in quote, big quotation, you would treat your wife like a fucking servant than anything else.
It's so true.
It is.
I told you this was a good story. It's very controversial and very interesting, I think. I'm going to definitely, Dory, I'm going to want to know, you know, what happens after this.
Yeah, I agree. I would love to hear more and find out more about this book, in my honest opinion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, did you ever say, you know, when you were telling me about you know, this gang or this organization that was after all this religious artifacts, you ever think about who hired them to do that? Because I don't think just some thug group would get this kind of information and go seek this at whatever cost. Just to have it.
I don't know that they were. I think they just stole a lot of stuff, and this just happened to be one of the things of interest that they ended up with. I don't think they went in just to get this.
Gotcha.
But yeah, of course, I wouldn't doubt that the Catholic Church would go in and try to get something like this. I mean, you know, you were raised Catholic like I was, so you know the power behind the Vatican. I mean, come on.
Right.
They're capable of anything.
Anything.
What?
Than anything going. I think they've covered up more crap than our own government, and that's pretty sad. And they'll willingly admit that. Yeah, we that was kind of fucked up, but you know, it wasn't all that bad. They'll say that too. They're all fucked up. Bottom line. But let's get the great stuff that's with our guest for this evening, Rocky Stucci.
Yeah, let's hear about you. Let's hear about you, Rocky. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a father. I got 3 boys, all diagnosed with autism. I've been married for 12 years. Been with her for 15 years. She was my angel. She's actually what saved my life. You know, I got a good job, but my heart, my spirit, my passion has always driven me in some very interesting ways and some interesting areas. I'm a keynote speaker. I'm a motivational speaker. I go to schools. I go to treatment centers. Wherever I speak at teacher conventions. Wherever my voice is needed to be heard, whatever message it is, as long as I lived it and as long as I'm comfortable with what I'm talking about, I will go there and speak. Just recently, probably within the last year and a half, I've been getting a whole bunch of speaking engagements regarding paranormal, and not just your typical surface paranormal, not your TV paranormal, more the spiritual roots and a truer understanding of life and the reality, and so the psychology and the human body and understanding the human body. And I always tell people, if you're involved in the paranormal one way or the other, there should be something that inspires you to live better, because 80% of what I have encountered hasn't always been the most inspiring events. And honestly, when my time's up, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be in this place of confusion. Going back to religion, same thing with religion. Christianity teaches heaven and hell, but they don't teach the journey of spirit in between. When you go to like the Buddhists, the Tibetan monks, the ancient Egyptians, and they had the journeys scripted. They had in detail the reincarnation and what happens in the afterlife, and people look at the Egyptian Book of the Dead like it's full of all these spells, where they're not really so much spells. They're gifts and they're tools to help their spiritual journey to transform and to move on. What got me into the paranormal was, for many, many years I made a lot of mistakes. What I speak about isn't from a school education, it's from real life events. And, like I said earlier, I've been diagnosed with PTSD. I ran with some dangerous crews, some different motorcycle clubs. I've seen a lot of death. I've seen a lot of suicides. I've seen a lot of overdoses. I've seen my best friend get killed. There's so much, and I had so much hate. And there was times in my life to where if there was anything that resembled a God to me, I absolutely hated him because I blamed him for everything that happened in my life. But the reality is that I put myself in those situations. Nobody on this planet or nobody above in the sky forced me to do anything I didn't want to do. I've always been a strong-willed individual. And it was accepting responsibility for who I allowed myself to be in order for me to become a better person. So, about 8 years ago, I was in a really bad motorcycle accident. I got crushed between two cars.
Wow.
And, I got 12 screws in my back. Now I had brain contusion, my brain damage. It was really messed up. And I got hooked on the pain pills. And, I've struggled with addiction most of my life, but it was the pain pills that really took me down. And the last year of my addiction, I was hospitalized 12 different times from either overdosing or detoxing so hard.
Oh,
and
wow.
So when I went into treatment, in treatment is when they started doing this EDMR treatment with the PTSD. Mm-hmm. And that's when, I'm detoxing at the same time. And now they're doing this EDMR, and I could not believe what was happening. I didn't know what to expect. I walked into this room, and I seen these lights. I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot, And that's why I said I had to go talk to a priest, because what I had to say, the counselors could not legally listen to me say it. They just, by law, they couldn't hear what I had to say. And as I was recovering, and the psychological stuff was really kicking in, and the things that I put my families through, and the selfishness of me choosing me before the people I took the responsibility of having, a lot of that stuff was going all through my mind. But what was really bothering me too is that all these people that I knew, all these people that died one way or the other, I wanted to know that they were somewhere else. I wanted to know that, my brothers out there and my family that lost their life to stupidity and drug abuse and bad choices, they weren't just gone. They weren't just physically gone. All my life, I've always had a belief. I've always believed that there's more than just us. I think it would be really selfish to think that we are the only things that exist. And I actually think it's selfish to think just because we're human, we're superior.
Right.
So I got on this big kick. I'm sure you guys have heard this 1,000 times. People come up to you and say, I will not believe in a ghost unless I see one. And that was where I was at. I needed to see something. I needed to experience something. I needed that validation, I guess. And it's selfish. It absolutely is selfish, but I needed that validation from my heart to heal. And that's kind of how this paranormal journey it really went into full gear. So I started going around with different groups, and I started going to different locations, and I started experiencing some really weird things. I always tell people, be careful what you wish for, because when it happens, the first time I actually seen something that could not be explained, we're at this old farmhouse, and this door got kicked open. It literally was kicked open from somebody that was inside the closet. We just showed up at this location. And the baby was getting harassed. The rest of the family, there was no problems. It was the baby. You can hear people talking to the baby through the baby monitor. And when I seen this closet door open, and it viciously opened, and I seen nothing in the closet, I literally scared stiff. Honest to God, I was scared stiff. For probably 2 minutes, I was completely froze, because I've never seen, especially a poltergeist, I've never seen anything like that. So I started having these weird experiences, and then there was a flip, and I believe everything happened for a reason. I was at this theater, and we're down in the basement, and a very notorious place, very active place, very intelligent. I picked up an EVP of a little girl, and she was literally talking to me, and she was answering my questions. And while everybody was high-fiving one another and hooting and hollering because they got this really cool Class A EVP, I had to step outside. I had to step outside because I heard the story of this little girl. I knew all about her, and I was heartbroken. And I started thinking, what if something happened to my child?
Right.
What if something happened to my neighbor's child or to anybody? And now people are reaching out to communicate, but then when they make the effort to communicate, it doesn't get acknowledged. There was this selfish glory that I was witnessing, and I felt very uncomfortable with that. This was a kid. And there's an EVP where she even comes to me and she says, I miss my mommy. So I'm talking to somebody. I'm like, why can't, and this is before I took advanced different types of training and started educating myself. I go up to this guy and I'm like, why cannot, her mom was still alive. Why cannot we bring her mom to this theater? What can we do? There is something that could be done. But the owner of the theater would not allow it, and she wouldn't allow healers in there because that was her business, charging groups to come in there and to communicate. Now, you know what? That guy in the basement, hey, you know what? He's a grown adult. If he wants to stay in this little room in the basement, and I talk about intelligent, and he swears at you, and he cusses you out, and he calls you by your name, and if that's where he wants to be in his afterlife and spirit, if he wants to be in a little tiny basement and for some reason stay there all the time, that's on him. But we're talking about a child who wasn't educated growing up to be an adult on the spiritual journey or the afterlife or ghosts or anything like that. So that's where the big thing really flipped for me. And I've been very fortunate through this time that I've worked with some amazing, amazing people that have taught me so much. I've worked with Reverend John Lillick and this girl, Diana Palm. I'm a certified theta healer. And theta is a physical healing, a psychological healing, and they also do a lot of spiritual work. And I'm a skeptic on everything. I'm a skeptic on I've been studying psychology since I've been 22 years old. The human body, the human heart, the EMF of the human body, and it's so important to understand all these factors anytime we go to these locations. A lot of people don't realize that the human heart has 1,000 times more EMF than the human brain. 1,000 times more EMF. The human body at one given time has enough electricity in it to light a small town for a week. And we need to use this energy to create a positive, a higher vibrational energy around us. And that's where we go back to like the universal laws, the laws of vibration, law of attraction, because we are a frequency. And what we send out, we get back in, and we get that right back. And so I'm going through all this different training, and now part of Theta, and this was the life-changing moment for me. Part of Theta healing is crossing over spirits. Now, you got to understand, 5 years ago, I'm in a bike club. I'm rolling around with brothers on bikes. We're making, you ever think for a second I'll be talking about crossing spirits over, you would have thought I was freaking nuts. And I was honest to God, I was. And I was uncomfortable to even talk about it when they were teaching me how to do it. Now, Theta is a brainwave that we get to. It's, so you understand, when we're in deep sleep, we're in a Theta state.
I do, because that goes back to what I was saying about the center point research. It has to do with the theta brainwaves as well. So I'm right there with you.
Yep, and that's where you're in the most control of your body, your vibration, and the energy around you. And so we're teaching me how to do this crossing over stuff. And honestly, I'm not saying I'm gifted. I don't practice anything like that. I'm very sensitive. I'm sensitive to energies. I knew something was happening physically. I knew it. Something really weird was happening with my body when we went to a couple locations to do these crossings. But it wasn't validating. I could not go up to somebody and say, we crossed somebody over and they're going to be okay, because even when people go to psychics or mediums, even if they're the best medium in the world, there's always going to be a little bit of that doubt in their mind, because they're hearing it from an individual and there's no validation besides that individual. And I know some amazing mediums. And sorry, my neighbor's starting his truck.
I can't hear it.
So there's this little boy, And I tell the story to everybody because I hope that people hear the story. I hope they digest this story and understand what happened here. His name was Devin. Devin was 8 years old. And on the east side of St. Paul, in the Twin Cities, there was a gentleman, a man, don't mean to call him gentleman, he was a man. He decided to take out his 9mm and to start shooting at cars driving by, just for no reason. And little Devin was in the line of fire. And little Evan got shot, and he died instantly, and his mother took a bullet to the arm and in the shoulder area, and the bullet went all the way down to her wrist. So Devin's mom, she called me probably about 2 months after this has happened. I am extremely sensitive now about anything spiritual when it comes to children and with people right after they lose somebody tragically, because they're in a really bad emotional state, and you got to kind of tiptoe around that unless you've worked with people like that and understand that. And you guys probably do, but it's a sensitive area, and you can really mess with people's emotions. So I kind of kept my distance for a little bit, and I decided to go over there, and I went there for her. I went there for her just so she could talk, so she could get it off her chest. My biggest fear on this planet is losing my children.
Oh, yeah.
And she was begging me and begging me and begging me and begging me, just try something, do something, try to do an EVP. She goes, I want to hear his voice. I was there for 3 hours, and right at the end, I went into Devin's room. I was the first one in his room since his death after 2 months. You walk into his room, and it was ice cold, ice cold. And I just sat in there for 15 minutes, and I just closed my eyes. And then I brought the mother in there and the sister in there and the friend of mine that came with me. And I started my recorder, and I just asked, I'm like, Devin, buddy, I go, can you tell me, what do you like better? Do you like Legos better, or do you like dinosaurs better? And about 10 seconds after I asked that question, you hear him whisper, dinosaurs. And then he says, I still feel cold. And I heard that. Now, I understand the human mind. Sometimes we hear things that we just want to hear. So I took this EVP recording, and I sent it out to people all over the country. And I'm sure you guys know a few of them. And I didn't tell them what it was. I just said, I got a file. It's 30 seconds long. Tell me if you hear anything. If you hear anything, tell me what you got. And literally within minutes, I was receiving messages, dinosaurs, 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 I still feel cold, dinosaurs, I still feel cold.
Wow.
Okay, so they were hearing what I heard with not even knowing nothing about the story. So a couple weeks later, again, here we go to the dreams. I dream all the time, and I remember my dreams every night. Sometimes they freak me out, and sometimes I hope they're not true. You know what I mean?
Rocky, do you keep a dream journal?
I don't. I tell people about them.
Good.
I can tell you what I was dreaming last week. I remember them to the T.
Yeah, but you'll see a pattern. I guarantee you. If you keep a journal for like a year, you will start to. Some patterns will emerge, and some topics will emerge. It'll be helpful. Trust me.
I thought about it to validate my dreams to the reality, because you know how sometimes you'll have a dream, and then you get this feeling of deja vu, and it's like, oh my God, I dreamt that.
Right.
I thought about doing the journal for that reason. But so about a couple of weeks after that EVP, I had a dream. And it was Devin. He was trying to talk to me. He was trying to reach out for me, but I couldn't hear him in my dream. It was distress, and I felt it. And I felt it in the morning, and I felt it all day. So the individual that taught me this theta, I called her up, and I was telling her about this dream. I was messed up in my head. This bothered me. It bothered me. And she's like, Rocky, she's like, you need to help him cross. I'm like, you mean, now this is when I was first learning this stuff. I'm like, okay, so you want me? Okay, so do I need to go to his mom's house then? Do I need to call her up? And she's like, no. And she goes, you just call him to you. She goes, ask your guides, ask those around you to bring Devin to you. And again, I was skeptical, but if the possibility was there, I was going to give it a shot because of this situation. And now, mind you, I have all this recorded. Everything I do, anything that I say to you from today, in the near future, in the far future, anything that I say to anybody, period, I can validate it and back it up with audio or video. So I set up a couple candles. I lit up some frankincense. I love frankincense, so I always just like frankincense. And I sat down and had my video recorder going, plus I had my EVP recorder going, and plus I was running white noise. Excuse me. And I started explaining. And we have energy here because we work with it all the time. It's always around. We're very conscious that it's here. And so I was just talking. I'm like, this is what I need. I said, any of you that need to communicate right now, I need you to step aside. I need somebody to bring little Devin to me. I need him here, and I will not continue until I hear him. And you actually start hearing the spirit come through, identifying. They're saying, Devin, he's almost here. And then you heard the same guy come through. He said, Devin, he's here. And when I heard this real time. My body, I felt it. I felt it. And
you were so connected.
Well, yeah, and this is why it was a life-changing moment for me, because it proved to me that yes, I was feeling one thing, but now I actually heard it, and it's validated what I'm feeling, and my belief system this day it times by 1,000. It was an unbelievable experience, emotional experience, and then so I go, Devin, little buddy, I go, do you remember when I was at your house talking with your mom? And then all of a sudden his little voice with this little speech problem comes through, and he goes, Rocky. And I heard him say that real time. And I'm like, okay. And then I started explaining what I'm doing. This is what I got to do, and this is what's going to happen, yada, yada, yada. And then all of a sudden that same guy comes through. He goes, Devin, he's tense. He's nervous. So I explain to him again, don't be nervous. And I'm trying to make a long story short here. So then I go into theta. And once I go into theta, it's not a trance state, but you're in your mind now. You're in your mind, and you're producing something outside of your body. And it's an intense energy, and we all have this capability.
Absolutely.
We just need to believe it. Everything is in our intent, and that's a big. Somebody will come up to me, and I'll go to this house that has this crazy activity, and they'll have biblical stuff all over the place, and they'll wonder why that's not protecting them. And I tell them, I says, it's a physical object. It's what you believe in that physical object is what's going to protect you.
Right. It's just stuff. It's just stuff.
Right. It's the belief you have to have in it, and that's what manifests that reality. And so this audio is running. Now I'm in theta state. My eyes are closed. I am completely deep in my mind, and I'm manifesting this energy. And you actually hear spirit coming through, and they're talking about angels. They identify light, and then you hear, now this is the weirdest part, it sounded like electricity. It sounded like electricity talking, and it came through, and it goes, it's time to go to heaven.
Oh, wow.
And that's exactly how, right, and I'll send this to you guys just so you can validate this story for future reference.
I would love it. I would love that.
I mean, I still listen to it this day, and it gives me chills, and Devin, and see, this is my belief. The way words to me are ghosts, energies that are still on our plane of existence, and then there's spirit. And spirit are a very high vibrational state. They're all over the place. They travel in the Earth's EMF. They can be here and there in a matter of an instant, And he comes here. He comes here all the time, but his energy is completely different. Now, when they reference heaven in this, I've thought about this heaven part. Is heaven just a way for us to understand and identify a better conscious state in the spiritual realm? I've thought about that with the word heaven, because some people believe in heaven, some people don't. Some people believe in angels, but they're talking about angels. So these references, and this is where I really got into the psychology of the mind, and are we manifesting? And I can get into something here in a little bit regarding our minds. But our buddy came over, and he wanted to try the spirit box. And a lot of people, they doubt it. They doubt the spirit box.
Now, what kind of spirit box are you using, Rocky?
Well, I have I've built two of them. And two of them, they just run straight white noise. That's all they do. And I actually, and then I have the SB7. If you're going to use the SB7, this is what I recommend to people: get that little Faraday pouch, because if you have that Faraday pouch and it eliminates the signal going to the radio, You're not going to get that interference. And another thing people need to do, too, if they're using the SB7, is they need to use Audacity or another program, and they need to clean all that noise out and listen to the back.
That's what I use, the Audacity.
Yep, it's not going to be like a two-way radio, and that's what I try to explain to people. You need to take all that white noise out with the noise removal on Audacity, and you need to listen to what's happening in the background, because that's where the most intelligent stuff will come through. My other two radios get no radio signal at all. It's just a straight scan with no tuner on it, and it's just pure white noise, and I get amazing hits on that as well. Somehow their frequency is twining with the frequency of the radio. I don't know how it works scientifically. I really don't. There's all these theories. There's people that say how the spirit box works, but I mean, there's universities that study telephone calls from the dead, and there's cases that they cannot figure out. They cannot explain what's happening. They cannot explain what's happening.
I have this idea of converting my own radio. This is what I'm going to do just so that I know, and I'm going to want to do it soon, very soon. I'm going to patent it and sell it for a lot of money too, just because I can. But this is my idea of what I'm going to do for my own particular form of radio. And this idea, I don't even know why I'm saying it because I'm planning on selling it. But hey, if anyone else can do it, I guess so. This will eliminate any radio sources, any frequencies. Period. You're not going to get it. I'm going to get a police scanner and never program the fucking thing, and just hit the scan button.
And honestly, brother, that's what it is. It's not the signal coming from the radio station down the street. Somehow it's the radio itself, and they're being able to manipulate the white noise. Now, half the world, 90% of the world now does not believe in the existence of light anomalies or orbs. It's a very sensitive word in the common paranormal field. I have video of these beautiful blue lights coming to a spirit box that I was holding, literally touching the antenna the exact same time that we got a Class A hit on that spirit box. And then we actually watched it, and it goes behind my buddy and goes out the door into the other room. So it's not floating in front of him. It's in a direction. It knows where it's going. And right after that happened, I go, who was it that's over there by Terry right now? And all of a sudden, and I know who this girl is. Her name is Angelina. She came through and she goes, it's Grandpa. She told us. Now, here's my question. If somebody would have took a picture at that moment and caught that anomaly on that film, it would have been debunked by 99.9% of people.
Yeah.
I know.
I'm not. Personally, I'm not big on orbs either. It's not that I don't think they exist. I truly do believe there are energy orbs. The only problem is there is so many alternatives of what it can be. I want something that someone's going to say, yes, I can't debunk that at all. Even my own evidence, if I catch an apparition, some kind of shadow, I'll do whatever the hell I can to debunk it. I don't want the shadow to be there. So when I do want... All right, now it's quiet.
When it comes to photography...
Yeah.
Go ahead, dear. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, I know Jason's not an orb guy, and on many, many occasions, I've had photos with orbs that, definitely I debunked them, and I knew that it was some sort of, condensation in the air or a bug, or, I always try to debunk them also. But I even sent Jason, I think, one of my pictures that I have a few pictures that I know, like what you're saying, Rocky, I know it was spiritual energy. And I know this because I am a psychic. I felt it, and because I do have EVP from that time, just like what you're saying. And, people that just glance at your picture can't know that. They don't know what the experience was or what happened or, what you were saying about the blue lights. They don't know. So immediately they're going to dismiss your picture. That's why I don't post mine on Facebook. So I don't have to deal with that.
And you know what, Jason, brother, I completely agree with you, too, because when it comes to photography, everything can be debunked. There's always a reason why something is happening that shouldn't be happening, whether there's just too many factors for you to actually say it's a credible picture. And I absolutely get it. And don't let me misspeak, because I'm not an orb jumper. I'll say about 98% of what people think are orbs are not.
Yes.
But there's also that very small percentage. The only pictures I've ever shared of orbs were when I was at the Burlington Vortex, because they weren't round. They were faces with cheeks and eyes and noses and mouths. It was something I've never seen in my life.
I have a few like that. I know exactly what you're talking about. And if I see a face in it, I am telling you it was something. If it looks really, really like a face, what you're saying. It's amazing, isn't it?
It is. And so the video that I have, I think, is a lot more credible, because
cool.
I've done a whole bunch of stuff with going into the woods just to film bugs. I wanted to film bugs and mosquitoes and moths, and a lot of people think that a moth is a fairy, and so I just wanted to see through a lens what all this looks like, whether it be a night vision or a flash in the middle of the night. And we need to know that. It's important for us to know what pollen looks like, what moisture looks like, what dust particles look like. But when you have video...
What no one has actually tested was what does an energy orb look like. And I think we can artificially create one if we wanted to. I think we should try to do that, try to create some kind of artificial energy orb. And then, that way we have something that we can look at and say, well, it should look something like this. This is what I'm probably going to try to look for.
I love that idea.
It is a really good idea.
Try it. I've never tried. I don't know how to do that. I'm not a scientist.
Well,
I'm sure Jason can figure it out. Yeah.
The idea is that we're investigating, and I'm sure Rocky will agree, that the theory is that it's EMF, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
The complete theory. Now, EMF, all that EMF is a low voltage AC current.
Exactly.
So I'm guessing what you can do is maybe hook some jumper cables up to your car. Don't turn it on or anything, and just create the sparks, because that's what that is AC current.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So what you're trying to do is create electricity to go airborne. Is what you're trying to do.
That's what you're trying to do. And you can take the faintest one that you can get, the faintest orb that you get out of that experiment, and say, hey, this would be something that we should be looking for with orbs. Something
That's a great
similar.
idea.
Not exactly, but something similar.
Right. That's a good idea.
That is a good idea.
I'm not going to try that, because with my luck, I'll end up shocking myself and be in the hospital. But I'm going to let you do that. I want to see.
Yeah, send us the video.
That'd be my luck. Yeah.
It was really so this whole Devon thing and working my way up to these experiences and doing this crossing thing, it made me look at things completely different. And then I started studying because I'm sure you're very familiar with different types of scrying, water scrying.
Oh, absolutely. I do mirror scrying. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Oh, the first time that I ever did it, I did it with this lady, and we did it. It was me and her with the candle in front of us, and we look at each other's third eye. I flipped my frickin' mind, man. I don't know what happened, but what I was looking at really freaked me out, because I did not expect to see her face transform. And then I started doing research on transfiguration and all this other stuff. And I mean, there's some weird stuff happening out there, but I guess it's not weird because I enjoy it because it's a spiritual side. But people don't really know what they're getting into. They can get really freaked out, like going in the bathroom in the mirror and doing something like that, or water scrying. And this is where I started doing all this research on the power of thought and the power of intent. How much, if any, or is it all part of what our mind is manifesting? Even quantum physics says that our thought alters our universe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I believe that 100%.
Right. So is this something from past life? Is this something coming from our subconscious? Is this something that we're thinking about so much that we manifest it? And then I started putting that together with investigations. When I go to these locations, I would get as much information as I could about these locations before I went in. But I was getting these very credible EVPs. I was getting some very good stuff to consider something to be different. But then their theory was coming out of, what did you know? Did your thought create that? Is that what you want to hear? So I stopped doing that. I started going into locations blind. Now, when I get a location, I'm working 3 locations right now, and that's all. I need to be at a location multiple times. I don't feel you could be successful if you go once. You could be picking up residual energy and you never even know the difference.
Sure.
So when I started going to these locations blind and doing investigative work and getting names and different types of information, and then going to the individual that owns the property and presenting them with this information, there is no way that my mind knew of who these people were, that they existed, that they would be in this home, that they were possibly still claiming that area as theirs. So when I can do something like that, I believe it gives it a lot more credibility, because then they can't come at you and say, is it the power of thought? Did the power of your mind create what you wanted to hear and manifested that reality? And it's been phenomenal, because I'm working 2 locations right now. Mm-hmm. One of them is called the Fern Hill House. And I'm going to tell both of you guys right now, I don't even know how many locations I've been to. And I've been working the Fern Hill House now probably for 5 months. I have never in my entire life, have seen so much unexplainable activity in one home. Not a business,
oh, wow.
This is a home.
Mm-hmm.
So the lady, she got a hold of me. She knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew me. And she's a very credible person. She works for the city of Minneapolis. She's very strong-minded. But she's told me that since she's been a kid, her family's the second owners of this home. She says since she's been a kid, there's been an activity in this house. I'm like, okay. And then she goes to tell me that this location used to be a cemetery. I'm like, well, what do you mean? Was there a cemetery by them? She goes, no. Where our garage is and where our home is, that was the burial grounds. And the city moved the cemetery, but they didn't get all the bones. So when they were building the apartment building next door, the construction company had to stop construction because they were pulling up human bones. And obviously, as you guys know, that's a very sensitive subject, and the city came out immediately to try to figure this out. And this cemetery dates back to early 1800s, late 1700s. So back in those days, they didn't document the way they do now. So what they ended up doing was they gathered all these bones. And now, understand, all of this has been validated through the Historical Society. So all this information was legitimate, because I had to look into it, because some people kind of exaggerate what they have going on. And where their garage is at is where they literally dumped a dump truck full of human bones into the ground and covered them up. And then they built the garage right over these bones. So there was no respect. And atop that, there was a building that was called the Pest House, P-E-S-T, the Pest House.
Oh, okay.
A lot of people with different types of diseases, homeless people with diseases, they would go there basically to die. It was like a kind of a nursing home, hospital, and it was a place of death, and that's what it was.
Sounds like a hospice almost for vagrants.
That's exactly what it was. That's perfectly explained. And so right away here, my mind is all over the board. Exactly how you're thinking right now was how I was thinking when she was telling me about all this. And I didn't know what to expect. I really didn't. So I get to this location, and you know that feeling you get when you make that first initial eye contact with the location, that there is some powerful energy there? I definitely felt it. But what I experienced the first time there, and I stopped her. I didn't want to know any names. I allowed her to tell me about the cemetery, about the pest house, a little bit about the land, and nothing into detail. And I went there. It was me and 2 other people. One of the guys who's been investigating for over 20 years, and another guy, he's a young guy, and I see a lot of hope in him because he's compassionate about what he does, and that's very important to me in this field, is showing the compassion and the respect for what we're working with. These were possibly human souls that we are communicating with, and they should be respected, not as entertainment. So in this house, they're doing remodeling, so the house was re-renovating. So the house was completely empty, no furniture, nothing.
Rocky, where is this house? A couple of people were asking.
The house is in St. Louis Park, right outside of downtown Minneapolis.
Okay.
And it's called now, it's the Fern Hill House. It's the last house of its kind in that whole area because it's all turning into commercial development. And the second I walked into this house, you hear somebody walking upstairs. Now, through my time, I've never seen a full apparition, and when I have seen a full apparition, the individual is still alive. And so, you know, that made me question if that was some kind of astral projection, if that was imprinted in time, something downloaded. You know, so it really made me think, and now I'm starting to think, you know, maybe what we do see for apparitions is something residual and not intelligent. Then I'm starting to think, and we're just dealing with energy here now, so it was weightless. So every time I go to these places, my thought changes on things because I experience different things.
Sure.
And I heard footsteps, and I'm like, oh hell, somebody's here already, you know, because the owner was supposed to meet me there. This was the first time that I met her. She was supposed to meet me there, so I thought maybe she was already upstairs. There's nobody in the house. There's absolutely nobody in the house. That night, that guy that's been in the field for over 20 years, he refused to be left alone. We just stopped everything, and we just sat down up in the room upstairs, and we just sat there, and you can see figures of people. You can feel their feet on the floor, walking like they're living their life in a different plane of existence.
Right, that's cool.
And we watched in the kitchen. We watched the cabinet door, the cupboard door. We just watched it open. And like 3 feet, it just opened. And we do check. We check the levels. We check for vibrations. We check to see if the house is unsafe. You know, you check for all the common stuff. I've never seen it. And the EVP, I was getting Class A EVPs through my video camera. Mm-hmm. And that was a first for me. So we've been working these locations over and over and over again. And here's the twist, is that all these people that came through, there was Leo, there was Elizabeth, all the people that came from the original home, the people that built the home, the first owners, every single name came through and identified themselves.
Now, was that on your was that on your video recorder, or was that on a separate recorder that you're getting all that?
On both. I just recently started a YouTube page, and on that YouTube page is 4 or 5 different videos from the first night there. And each video is about 7 minutes long, and you see me walking around, and you hear them talking to me. You hear them talking to me while I'm walking around. So the second time we went there, I went back, and the other two, I was with theta healers, and they just wanted to observe the energy of the location. Mm-hmm. And we're downstairs with the owner, and now I have a task cam, and I listen real time. I got mics set up everywhere. Mm-hmm. And the owner was trying to remember names of people. And the coolest thing was that I was picking up EVPs of them telling us the information she was trying to remember. It was like they were right there answering anything we needed to know. I've never in my life seen this before. So what the next step is with this location is we have people from the University of Minnesota coming out. And what we're going to do is we are going to hook the entire place up to monitor atmospheric changes, different fluctuations, static fluctuations, EMF fluctuations. And then we have some guys that are engineers in the music business, and they're going to mic up the whole house.
Awesome.
And we're going to let that house, and we're going to let that house go like that for 2 days with nobody in it. And we want to see what happens in that house when nobody's there. Because the thing is that the owner, she wants to move back into this house. She tried to have renters. The longest a renter has stayed in this location has been 2 months. They do
wow.
Because, honest to God, guys, I'm telling you,
so it doesn't matter who's there. It's just really an active location. That's crazy.
Well, it seems like, because if you hear the story, like when the owner that I deal with now, when her mother bought it, prior to her mother, the original owner had like 10 offers on the home, and she refused every offer. And she accepted the lady I'm dealing with now, her mother, she accepted her offer. And the day of the signing, the original owner, she died.
Oh, wow.
And, so it was like she was picked for this house. So anytime somebody from the outside tries to move in, they get driven out. And so this is what we're trying to do, is we're trying to, she's not asking for it to be cleared out. She's not asking for us to try to disrupt the energy there. She's trying to get a better understanding of what it is they want and why they're there. that's their home. And for what I found out about the original families, they were amazing people. They helped people out. They were a big part of the community. They had so much pride in their home. That's where they want to stay. I don't believe they have a high vibration, though. Their energy is very easy to pick up. Even if you don't believe in ghosts, you could be the biggest skeptic in the world. You can go into this house, and you just will not feel right. The downstairs in the basement is, I would say, probably a little bit more dangerous because who's ever down there, I don't believe him to be part of the family. He don't want nobody down there. And you feel this energy. And if you're a sensitive or a medium, it gets you sick. It gets you nauseous, and it does. Your body reacts to this energy. You know how sometimes when EMF in a home, there's just too much EMF in a home, people get sick. That's that feeling you get. So it's a fascinating story, and I just don't even know where to take it from here with this home after we do these recordings because we've established who it is. They're not really harmful. I remember the last time I was there, I was doing video, and I was just explaining, and I was just Helen. Her name was Helen. When I told the lady, the owner, I told her, I said, this Helen keeps coming through, not spirit box, EVPs. And she has this accent. She said, Helen. You know, like she has some kind of English accent. And the owner, she's like, I don't know who Helen is. So she brought this big photo album. And this photo album was all these newspaper articles about the cemetery, the pest house, the original owners. It was been put in a couple magazines. She goes and grabs this photo album, grabs it right in about the center of the book, and just kind of flops it open. Bam, bam, full-size page picture of Helen right there. That was crazy. So I was upstairs. This was the last night I was there. Now, this was a few weeks ago. And I was explaining, I'm like, now listen, I don't know how many more times I'm going to be able to come back. I said, so if there's anything, I said, this is your opportunity. Anything you want to say to the owner, to me, what can we do to help you? And all of a sudden you hear Helen come forward and she goes, please stay. She says, please stay. And she said it in the kindest voice. That does something to you, you know, because we know something's happening that science yet cannot explain.
Right.
I don't know what I can do to prove the authenticity of this. Besides EVPs, and there's no matter what, there's going to be people out there that are going to believe that EVP is just noise, spirit box is just radio. You know what I mean?
You know that, Rocky. You can never prove this 100% to 100. I mean, it's never going to happen. There's just always going to be doubters and skeptics and naysayers, of course.
Right. And so I did send another guy. He's local here. He has a radio show as well through the Twin Cities. And I needed somebody to validate this. So the very first time I went, I brought that one guy that's been in the business for 20 years now. This guy, he went about a month ago. It was him and another girl. And I was speaking that day at an event, so I wasn't able to make it. So I called him. It was about 9:30 at night. I'm like, so talk to me, man. Talk to me. I was so excited to hear what was happening, you know. Because it's like you gain a relationship. When you work a location this many times and you understand the intelligence of the location, you start to accumulate a relationship to where you're starting to understand who these people were. He was still at the back door because the exact same thing that happened to me the first time I was there was happening to him. He said somebody was upstairs. He said somebody's home, and he didn't want to go in. He keeps knocking, but nobody's answering the door. I'm like, brother, listen, is the lockbox on the door? Yeah. Okay, it is. Open it up. Is there a key in there? Yeah. All right, dude. Nobody's in the house. If the key's in the lockbox, then nobody's in the house. And I was on the phone with him when he opened that door, and he was thrilled because he picked up on that energy. And he's not gifted, but
right.
you don't have to be at this place. And it took him probably 10 minutes just to break that threshold, just to get through that door. And so I'm doing that just so people can validate the experience. I'm having the University of Minnesota come in to monitor what's happening in the atmosphere when this phenomenon is happening. And then I got, these radio engineers, these sound engineers coming in, and they're going to mic the whole place up. To me, I don't know. I don't have access to NASA or access to what they use for science to prove this. So this is what I got. This is all I know I can do. But
I think getting the university to come in is huge, though, Rocky. I mean,
yeah,
to get them to agree to do that, I mean, they have to definitely feel that you're a credible person and that something must be going on.
Well, it wasn't easy. It's because we're using university equipment, and you guys know as well as I do, the paranormal is a very sensitive subject, and I believe there's some people out there that really take away the credibility of the field, and there's a lot of people that are working behind the scenes that are making incredible accomplishments, but getting overlooked because of lack of respect. And and this is another reason why I choose to step up and tell my story. I mean, I can go from being this biker to this guy who has this amazing connection, and I get these amazing locations, and I won't go to the location unless they give me permission to go there multiple times. I just will not do it. And 80% of the places I go to be honest with you guys, the people are psychologically haunting themselves, and they get so upset when I go ahead.
I agree. It is true. A lot of the residential places that do get called over, most of them, they do have psychological issues. One of the biggest things before I go into a residential case is, you know, are you on any kind of psych meds? and most of the time I get a 4-page essay on what meds they're taking and why. And you start looking down on them, and I've gotten this discussion before over the year, and you start looking down at what they're taking, how they're taking it, how often they're taking it, and then you have to go deeper, people. You have to look at the side effects of these medications, and a lot of them will flat out tell you may cause, you know, rashes, skin irritations, hallucinations, bad dreams, constipations. You know, these are the side effects of these medications that they're taking. So, I mean, you mix that in with, you know, whatever the case may be, and of course your house is going to be haunted. I mean, it's not too much haunted. It's, you know, you're hallucinating it, or the medication is letting you put off too much energy than what's necessary, and you're seeing things that you shouldn't be seeing.
They're scratching themselves in their sleep too, you know.
Oh God, tell me about it. Holy Jesus. There's two different types of poltergeists, and we obviously know the main one, which is done by some kind of intelligent force that's unseen by our eyes, and then it has been proven at a scientific level that we have actually we can alter the reality. We can make things move around us. There's the
absolutely.
Yeah. And I was so fascinated when I heard this, because that explains a lot of situations, especially when people their energy is so bad and so negative and so powerful at a negative state that it's making their physical world around them a chaos of bad energy.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you know, I know mediums who have, you know, over the years, friends of mine who claim that they have been able to do that. I can't do it. I've never really tried to move anything, but I do think that if you have intense energy or intense anger or intense emotion, it is possible that something could move because of that. I mean, I don't know how it happens.
I truly do believe that. I think telekinetic energy is 100% possible. And it's gone to the fact where colleges and scientists are actually researching this particular phenomenon. And a lot of what people claim to be poltergeist activity, I think, is the result of this.
Exactly. They did a study. What was it? Cornell. It was a university.
Cornell's done a few studies, and so has Arizona University and Harvard.
Yes. And I had a buddy who studied at Harvard for the Sixth Sense. That was a pretty fascinating story in itself. But Cornell did a study where they got these bearings, these ball bearings, and they got dispensed out at an even pace, and they just dropped a specific direction. I'm trying to remember how the study was done. They had the people focus, I think it was 3 or 4 people at a time, to focus at one side or the other where these balls were coming down. Mm-hmm. And the direction that the people focused, the balls started moving. The percent when they were falling with nobody looking was within a 5% radius, so 45 to 55%. Falling evenly. But then when they had these people focus, those ball bearings were actually somehow shifting to one side or the other, the side that these people were focusing on. And I think that kind of proves the theory of what we're kind of going at, is that how powerful our thought is, you know, and how our intent is. And I tell that to people all the time. When you go to these locations, it's not like if there's something intelligent there, they're not any less intelligent than they were when they were living. They know what somebody's intent is when they go to these locations. And if you're there at a compassionate level and in a respectful level, I guarantee people all the time that you're going to get more results than if you go there and really disrespect their space. And sometimes you could put yourself in a dangerous spot when you go in these locations.
Again, I've always said the energy you put out is the energy you're going to get back. So if you go in there with
exactly it.
An angry attitude or you're just a dick in general, and I know a bunch of them, you're going to get a ghost of the dick. And I tell people, if you go in there with that kind of perspective and you start using provocation and just being a dick, you got to remember you're challenging something that you can't see. You know what I mean? It's a fight to lose.
Yeah, I mean, you don't know who, what, when it was from, what kind of emotions it might have had when it was alive, or how it is when it's dead. Like, I don't do that. I don't like it when, and nobody on my team ever does that. We don't go in and provoke and challenge and ask for trouble. I think it's a very bad idea. Always.
It is a bad idea. Get the evidence to support what it is that's in there before you go in there and start being a dick. Bottom line. Because you don't know what's in there. You have no idea. I mean, I'm not big on demons, but I'll be the first to tell you I could be wrong. There could be demons, and there could be one in that house that you're challenging. Or you could be challenging Jeffrey Dahmer or whoever the fuck else is a mass fucking weird killer or whatever it may be. You don't know.
Yeah.
Bro, you know what? I completely agree with you. It seems like everything is demonic these days, and I've come to love that word. I've come to hate that word because it's just something fell off the counter. Well, you guys know exactly what I'm talking about. It's so overused, and this is another part that bothers me. And I'm speaking personally now, and I'm not shooting at anybody, but there's all these people taking these weekend courses to become a demonologist. And if they don't understand, right, they're focusing on dark energy. They're focusing on it, and exactly like you said a few minutes ago, bro, what you put out, you get back in. And they wonder why their lives are in chaos.
And don't you think that people that put that out there, because this is how I am, they're lowering their personal vibration, definitely.
Big time.
And they're attracting that to them. To me, that's what happens, and that's why I don't recommend that. I always try to keep my vibration as naturally very high, but those people are lowering their personal vibration, and when you do that, you attract bad things to yourself in your life and when you're going to investigate.
I completely 1,000% agree with you, and that's exactly what's happening. And then you kind of conversate with some of these people, and they don't know why their lives are in turmoil. Their everyday living, and a lot of people don't realize how much the world of spirit plays in our everyday life. It's always around us. It's always here. We just, excuse me, I just don't know how to get that through to some people. We got called a couple weeks ago from a priest from a Catholic church because his rectory is being haunted.
Oh wow!
Now.
That's new. That's new. Yeah.
It is new. This would have been my third church. I've done a Lutheran church and one other Catholic church in St. Paul, Minnesota. But he had to wait till there's deacons that were living there too, and he had to wait till everybody was gone for a weekend before anybody that I work with. I'm an independent, but I have 2 or 3 people that I exclusively work with because I love their respect, I love their compassion, and their thoughts and beliefs are pretty similar to mine. He was really freaked out one night because he heard something happening in the kitchen, and he comes downstairs, and he's seen a little girl. A little girl was staring at him in the eye. She was looking right at him.
Wow.
Right, and you hear this a lot where you see something real quick and then it's gone. So he freaked out. He left the kitchen, and he just he got his head back together, and he thought he was seeing things, and he just went back in the kitchen, and she was still there. This is the first time I've ever heard of a double hit where somebody was there.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
You know what I mean?
I've never been called. I've never been called from a church, so that's very interesting to me too. That somebody called you from the Catholic Church. That's pretty cool.
I could not explain how much respect I have for this gentleman, for this priest, to step out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
And he even said his own words, "This is not what I was taught to believe." That's exactly how he said it. And,
well,
you know,
may I intrude there for a minute? One thing that people also have to, and again, this is why I don't like religious people. Well, it's not that I don't like them. It's people who dominate their faith and they're strict on whatever. That is respectful, what he did. The problem with what you're being taught is, especially when it comes to the Bible, is there is nothing in the Bible that suggests heaven, hell, or in the middle, or what happens after you die. There's nothing in there at all. At all. It exists in the Bible. It doesn't. So people, these priests and these different organized religions and so forth and so on are trying to tell you what's going to happen to you after you die. Where are they getting the information from? It's not in the Bible. It didn't come down from God. Where are they getting it from? They're making it the fuck up.
Right.
So I you know, and I agree, and I give this guy a lot of credit, and to kind of talk about what you're saying, Jason. A couple months ago, there was a couple gentlemen that came to my house about 7:30 at night. I was eating. I just got home from work. Had a couple big pork chops, and my door rings, and I look outside, and I'm like, oh hell no. It was a couple guys from another religious group. Out of respect, I won't say the group, but you guys know what I'm talking about.
I do.
So so I walk out there with my pork chops in my hand, and I'm a big fan of pork chops. So understand what I'm saying here. That's a big deal. And so they could see that I was eating. You know what I mean? So they could see that they just came and really disrespected me, my home, and my family for their personal agenda. So they were being persistent. So they're being very persistent. I said, okay, you know what? I said, here's the deal. I said, I'll make a deal with you guys. I said, if you tell me your message, I said, you need to listen to what I have to say. You need to hear my beliefs. So I said, go ahead, shoot, go for it. I said, tell me what you feel. Tell me your message. So right away, this one kid first, he opens up the book. I'm like, oh, no, I close the book. I go, tell me your message. And he's looking at me. He was confused. And he goes, open the book again. I'm like, no. I go, you can't tell me your message because you don't even know. I said, you're going to open that book and you're going to tell me we need to repent for our sins. We need to believe that Jesus died on the cross. We need to believe that he died for our sins, right? He's like, yeah. And you're going to also tell me that the only way my prayer is going to be heard is if I go to your temple, right? Well, that's what we do. He didn't know. He did not know. He didn't know who he was. He didn't even know his own faith, that he went door to door to door to door to door to preach. He didn't know. He could not give me a message from his heart. He could not give me a sincere, compassionate message to believe in this so it makes you the better person. No, he came knocking on my door to tell me what he was taught to believe so I can go to his temple and get them 15% of my paycheck. That's his sole job.
Pretty sad.
That was the last time I was here. It is pretty sad. And my wife, it was so funny because when they were walking away, she's like, oh, they're going to bring the big guns for you. She goes, they're going to be coming back with like the leaders of the church and shit. I'm like, oh, yeah, probably. But it is sad because, you know what, these I'm sorry, and I know this offends people, but these people are being brainwashed, and they don't even know what they feel. They can't even speak from the heart. They can't even do that. You know, it makes me sad. It makes me really sad.
Wow.
Life ain't that bad, man. And I'm going to tell you, you know, all these different experiences I had in this field, it's what helped me heal. I remember when I was in treatment and I was cleaning up, and I'd watch these guys come in from AA, and they're very sincere at what they're doing. They're trying to help people. They're trying to reach out to people, and I completely respect that. But what really drove me nuts is that they were telling people, while they were speaking to people in treatment, they would tell them that the only way you're going to be able to stay sober is if you go to meetings. I was like, okay, so I got out. So I gave it a shot, you know, and I've been in meetings before, but I'm like, you know what, I got to change, and this must be part of the change. And I went to a meeting, and I think it was my third one in, and I was done. I was done because I'm looking at people that are still stuck on what they did 20 years ago. And my intent was to heal from my past, to be able to move on, to have a better life.
Yeah, talk about hang-ups. Yeah.
Right. Not to constantly focus on where I've been. Sooner or later, that becomes a broken record. And it's so weird when I tell this to people, but it's this work. It's the people that I was able to work with, the healers, the shamans, the Native Americans that I've been able to sit down with and listen to them speak and listen to understand and not to react. You know, you hear that all the time, and that's what I do. I'm never 100% confident with my beliefs because every time I experience something different, it alters my past opinion on things. You know, like my theory of spirit being energy. What creates those footsteps? You know, what creates that weight to where you can actually hear them walk? You just constantly, and I think it's important in this field to constantly keep an open mind because sometimes what we think is getting close to a pretty strong belief, we completely get debunked on that and experience something completely different. So it's like an evolution. You just completely keep evolving. But it was these experiences, and a lot of these healing sessions me and my wife do with people, and I was leaving end in spirit, and some of the stuff that we got on audio, I mean, these people are screaming for help. These people are they're the help me's, and I'm thirsties, and please help. And I got audio that's just heartbreaking. And I always ask people, it is heartbreaking. I ask people, what if you lived in spirit how you live now? What if you live like that in spirit? Is that the place you want to go? You know, we're tested in this life. We're not given magical powers by somebody in the sky. We are tested as a human being to become the better person, to become good people, to take responsibility for who we are, whether it be in the paranormal field or not. There's so many people that put so much energy into worrying about what other people are doing and focusing on what everybody else is doing, and they invested that time in themselves. I mean,
they'd be a lot better off, that's for sure.
You know, I've seen people killed. I've found friends dead. You know, I could use my past as an excuse to completely be nobody the rest of my life if I wanted to. But yet I look at it from a different perspective, and I looked at it as a lesson that I put myself into. I take responsibility for that. And, you know, damn it, I'm going to tell you something, man. Life is pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. I love what I do. I'm going to freaking Egypt. I'm going to the UK. I get to work with some of the best in the field and Egyptologists, and we get to go in these pyramids, and we get to do investigative work, and we get to try to understand the world of spirit over there, and to work with these people, and to be able to work with a Tibetan monk. And this is where it's leading me. And there's no effort. Once you believe it's going to happen, it's that thought again. It's our thought creating the reality. Once you believe you deserve it, and once you believe it's going to happen, it just starts happening. And once we start understanding life from that perspective, we live better as a person. And we start attracting those type of people to us. And we don't have to sit there and worry about who we take in as friends anymore, you know, because we know that the right people come into our life for the right reason. Sometimes it's a lesson, sometimes it's not. But it's just work in this field. And sometimes people look at me like I'm nuts. But it's just work in this field, doing these crossings. Whatever we're capable of doing something that manifests something that allows something to happen for these lower energy spirits to transition to a higher vibrational state. I mean, hours of audio I have talking about the angels and the light, and it's just intelligent stuff where they're saying my name and thanking me, calling me the messenger, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And how could you not?
I'm definitely gonna check out your YouTube for sure. I would love to hear some of that. That is amazing. I'm very interested.
It's just, you know, for both of you guys, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, the Devon story I told you about.
Yeah.
I'm going to put together the full audio for that, and I have them all individualized right now, but I'll send the whole audio over to you guys, and you guys can listen to that.
Yeah, I'll give you my email. I'll send it to you privately. Yeah, that's great.
The Fernhill House, just because I'm referencing these locations here, I will send you audio from the Fernhill House, and I'll send you some audio or video too from the Fernhill House. And then another location that I've been working for probably 2 years now. It's in Osceola. It was one of the old water distilleries. It's a mansion. And there's another place. That's where we've seen the big blue orb. They have full sentence conversations with us there. Full sentence conversations with us. And the saddest part is the owner, she just got a hold of me. Her and her husband are separating, and she's moving to Florida. So we got one more time after all this time you spend there. You're down to the final moment. But this was another place where, I was asking questions in the bedroom because she feels like somebody's stalking her in the bedroom. And I asked, why do you do this? Why do you make her feel uncomfortable? And he goes, I don't. And then the second he said that, you hear a lady come through and she goes, he's abusive. I'm like, oh, hell no, I didn't just hear that. So it's
God.
like you're telling me. Yeah, right, so he's abusive, but she was telling me. And then a couple minutes later, I heard you, and I says, I says, you know my name. Please just tell me your name so I know who we're talking to. And then you heard this guy come through, and he said, David. And then all of a sudden you heard that voice come through again. He goes, why'd you tell them? Leave us. Just like
wow.
that. Right, so what is it? What is it that, why don't they? What are there rules? Are they not allowed to talk with us? Why is it so hard for us to communicate? Why is it sometimes we get short sentences and then we don't get nothing for 2 or 3 hours? Do they need to build up some kind of energy? This is all the questions that go through my mind.
Yeah.
It's an amazing location. And then I asked in the same house, there was a lady in the room and she kept coming through. I go, what'd you do? Did you work here? Did you live here? How are you associated with this land? And she goes, a housemaid. I'm free. I don't get any more intelligent than that, No,
that's amazing.
So it's a wonderful field if you let it to be wonderful. And I always hope that anytime I talk about this stuff, that if there's one person that hears my voice, that can make them approach this from a different perspective, hopefully it can do what it did for me. And hopefully they can do the same thing I'm doing now, and they can reach out to other people, and people can learn to live a better life spiritually and physically in the regular world, and not let everything around us destroy us, and just be our own individual. That's my mission, at least.
That's a good mission. That's pretty awesome. You're doing some incredible work. I mean, really, you've got a lot going on. A lot.
Right now, it's a little overboard. The wife, we've been talking about it, and the last thing I ever want to do is neglect my time for my family because of this.
Yeah.
But when I do, we're doing a documentary. We're shooting it next month. I do a walk. It's a 40-mile walk, and I do it for bullying, for the awareness. And I'm also going to have one of Devin's toys with me because I've gotten this connection with Devin now. And I feel he's always around me. Not always, but I feel him when he comes to visit me.
Yeah.
And I talk to Mom. I'm like, just if I can have one of his toys with me. And everybody's like, well, I do these local events all the time. And they're like, well, why don't you just set up an event somewhere, have people come, and just give one of your speeches, do an hour speech or something. I'm like, well, here's the point. I said, I'm not in shape. I'm not in shape like I used to be. And you walk 40 miles in one day.
I can't do it.
Well,
I'm not in that kind of shape either. No.
The entire time, this is how our minds work. We have 80,000 thoughts a day, and 80% of those thoughts are negative. The entire time that you do this, you are constantly telling yourself to quit, to give up, to do it the easy way, to catch a ride. I remember the last time I did it last year. People knew what I was doing, and I was on some country roads. They were pulling over. They were bringing me food. They were asking me if I wanted to ride. I wanted to tell them yes, because this is how life is. We constantly want to give up. We constantly want to go the path of least resistance. We always want to do things the easy way. But sometimes for us to excel to the next level, we have to be willing to make the sacrifice. We have to be willing to fail, because as long as we fail, we're not giving up. It's when we stop trying. It's when we give up. Failing is okay. It's a first attempt to learn.
Yeah, you can't be afraid of failure. I mean, you'll never get anywhere if you're afraid to fail.
But, these people these days, with our society and with media and everything, we're
lazy.
Yeah, we are. We are a lazy society. We are psychologically broken. I just don't understand why we're not teaching these kids that you can be the ruler of the frickin' world if you wanted to. There's nothing you can't do. We talk them out of it. We tell them to be real. You hear this all the time. When you're a kid, you do anything you want. You can be anything you want in this life. But by the time you get to junior high or high school, people are telling you to be realistic. No, go work that job. No.
Or we talk ourselves. We talk ourselves out of what we're capable of as well. Out. Yeah.
How many times have we not done something because of the opinion of another person?
Oh, it's so true.
Yes. Yeah. So, I just kind of incorporate everything. And you're right. Right now I am kind of in overload. We got a couple of side projects going on. And I work a lot. I have a great job, and I'm so grateful because this is what pays, for all my extracurricular activities. But
well, yeah, it's expensive. It's expensive, that's for sure. We all know that.
We got to make sure to live. We got to make sure we can shut it off, grab our boys and our girls and our family, and spend that time with them and just say, no matter what, man, I love the hell out of you, and I always will. You're my best friend, and we're forgetting that these days now. We're losing that grip of the old school respect and compassion
the old school families too. I mean, that's for sure. A lot of families have really lost that. So it's good that you're making that time.
I can't believe how some of these kids are talking to their parents. I can't believe what I hear come out of these kids' mouths to their parents. It floors me.
Oh, I've got one with a smart mouth, let me tell you. I can't believe the things that she says to me, and I'm really nice, so I can't get
I'm sorry, guys. I just went on a major babble. I apologize. I didn't mean to get on that little babble there.
It's all good, man. It's all good. We're down to the last 9 minutes of the broadcast, and before we the Block Talk Radio bitch comes on and says, "You have 2 minutes left." Gotta make sure we get everybody's information out. So, Rocky, why don't we start with you?
Right now, I got a web page being built. I was always kind of weird about it, but I do have a blog page. I got some really cool articles on there about human energy, thought, the universal laws. Kind of some of the subjects we're talking about ancient religious beliefs and how they control the masses. You can just go to Rocky Stucci, ROCCI, .wordpress.com. That's kind of a hub for me right now. It's been pretty good for me in the past, but I love sharing these articles with people, and they can kind of get a better understanding of everything, the kind of what we talked about tonight. And then they can also look me up on Facebook. There's not too many Rockies out there that's spelled ROCCI. So just look me up on Facebook too, and hit the friend request there, and I'll be happy to gain a new friend
or stalker.
We'll go to Jodie. Jodie, do you know that this whole entire night I have not made one joke about your boobs or anything?
I know. What is wrong with you?
I'm slacking. I slacked the whole night.
I haven't had any. I mean, there's no come on. There's no double stuff comments. I mean, you didn't. I thought we were going to play that game where somebody had to call in and guess my bra size.
No.
Does this really happen?
No, this happens every night, Rocky.
Okay,
yes,
yeah,
so does. But anybody that wants to find me, you can find me pretty much everywhere. I am, on Facebook under Jodie Johans Smith, which is my psychic name. There's also a Facebook page that is Jo Hants. You can also find me on Instagram, Pinterest, and Twitter under Jo Hants, and that is JOHAUNTS. So, love to have new followers, love to make new friends. And, of course, you can find me here on Monday and Tuesday night with Jason.
That's right here on DTM Wicked Radio. We are always live Mondays and Tuesdays. Mondays we are on from 6 to 8 p.m., and Tuesdays 9 to 11 p.m., and that's always Eastern Standard Time. So you definitely want to bookmark this page or listen to it elsewhere, such as iHeartRadio, Video Bash. What else are we on, Jodie?
We are on iHeartRadio. We are on Spreaker.
Spreaker, yeah, there we go.
Yeah. I'm on Spreaker and iHeartRadio as well, if you want to follow me there.
Definitely. You definitely got to follow Jodie because, well, you have a nice looking hat. You always want to be behind Jodie.
Oh, and we want to mention, I don't know about all that, but we also want to mention if you go on iHeartRadio or Spreaker, you have to look us up under DTM Wicked Radio. Otherwise, you won't be able to find us if you just put in Ghost Chat Radio.
Yeah, you have to put in DTM. DTM Wicked Radio is the network, everyone, and you definitely got to give it up to Denny and Tiff Gager who own the network. They're awesome people. They also have a fan page, too, on Facebook that these guys got to go check it out. Just, check out DTM Wicked Radio and on Facebook, and the page will come up, and give that a like, because I'm pretty sure, Jodie, you can agree that there's a lot of awesome shows right here on DTM.
There's a lot of awesome shows. I mean, I'm listening to new ones all the time, and I know that they're adding new ones to the network all the time. But they're all different, they're all interesting, and they all have really fun people on them.
Whatever your poison is, we got it.
Absolutely. A lot of fun guests coming on this season as well, here on Ghost Chat Radio, and also I know on some of the other shows on the network as well.
Yeah. Well, who do we have coming on next week, Jodie?
I'm going to have to get back to you on that. I don't have a calendar open right in front of me. I'm sorry.
Always got to put her on the spot.
He's got to put me on the spot. Next, I'm going to keep a list in front of me from now on. I know one of our listeners is coming on Monday, a gentleman that you picked up from the fan page. He's going to come on Monday. But I will post it on the fan page and also on my page who's coming on next week. Excellent.
And if anyone wants to contact me, the best way to do it is just look me up on Facebook. Just check out Jason Stanton. I'll pop up. Go to the Ghost Chat Radio fan page. Give that a like. I encourage everybody to give that a like, because I always try to do what I can to keep up to date on what's happening, what guests we have coming up, how far a sausage Jodie can take. All that good stuff is always on the fan page.
How to properly eat a banana,
All that good stuff. Jodie will give you a video footage with a banana, how to put a condom on through her mouth. I'm only kidding.
That would have to be after some kind of contest that I lost. I'll tell you.
I haven't fucked with you the whole show, Jodie. So you got 2 hours of cracks coming down.
I know, and I was naked and everything for this show. I mean, I was ready for that.
Oh, yeah, mamma mia, bruta mia. Somebody help me now. I've been doing everything I can to say nothing the last 5 minutes, but that.
See what happens when you go. See what happens when you go to Catholic girls' school for 12 years.
Mm-hmm.
I like they get all pent up and they don't know what to dance to.
Hey guys, I know you guys got to go, but I just want to say just a huge thanks to both you guys, man. Much love and respect, you guys. I mean, both here and our other communication. You guys have always been very cool with me and very respectful, and I very much admire both you guys and what you do, and I'm very grateful for you guys allowing me to be on tonight. And I look forward to you guys coming on my show within the next couple of weeks.
I am looking forward to it. Rocky, thank you so much for coming on. It was really a lot of interesting stories.
Thanks. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Jodie.
A pleasure having you on, Rocky. You have been a wonderful guest, very insightful. Your story is extremely amazing, and I'm sure that a lot of my listeners will agree, and you might have even touched a few of them, which I'm hoping. So you have definitely truly been one of my better guests that I've ever had on the show. So I'm hoping in the future one day I can get you back on.
And I definitely think. Yeah, I would love for him to come back on after University comes out and, after the musicians come out. And we've got to get a follow-up on that story. And I know that our listeners will love
to hear that.
All right, Jason, you got 60 seconds.
I can do a lot in 60 seconds.
Just count down.
It's fine, yeah. Everyone definitely go to the Chat Radio fan page. Check out our wonderful guest, Rocky Stucci. He is a very insightful person. Check him out on Facebook. Chat with him. I'm sure he'll chat back. Check out, continue to follow Jodie, because let's just face it, she is just an amazing, smart, intelligent woman, and I'm glad I chose her as a co-host. Check out the DTM Wicked Radio fan page. Go to Amazon and buy my book, Unrested Peace. It's a nice little tale that I know you all will love.
It's sexy. It
is kind of sexy. I'm not going to lie. There's some romance in it. I can't deny that. I don't know. It's a ghost story with a lot of sex in it.
It is.
It is. But it's a true story, so it makes it even interesting. It's great. But until Monday, everyone, I will post, who is on Monday night. But until Monday, 6 p.m., Standard Eastern Time, I will check you out then. So, again, everyone, I'd like to say thank you for being here. Jodie, as always, you're always wonderful being on.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I'll talk to you later, Rocky, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Thank you, brothers. Good night, Jodie.
Good night, Rocky.
Good night, everyone.
Everybody. Good night.